Oh, no,
That fucking thing is expensive.
Welcome back to the Volley House podcast, episode 41.
Good
We
squad
are
company.
here.
Squad 41.
Squad 41.
That's truck 1, engine 4.
Yeah, that's what we used to call headquarters at Hot Pog.
1 and 4.
Squad 41, Engine 4, Truck Company 1. We're here at Coca Studios. We got Ryan Mackey on the sticks. Be sure to give him a follow at Max_visuals. That's MACKS_visuals. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volley House Podcast. And we'll hop into our lovely sponsors. Start with iCommand Board. It's Kevin, you're grabbing it.
Why not?
As an incident commander, you know that running a scene can be chaotic. Not only are you responsible for getting the job done, but you're also responsible for the members that are putting their lives at risk. As the alarms we respond to change, so does the way we're prepared to handle them. Instead of trying to keep tabs on a whiteboard or notebook, what if there was a tool that had information and checklists that you can follow as the scene unfolds? Meet iCommand Board, a tool created by a fire chief to run flawless incident command. It's made to easily carry and fit in any responder vehicle or rig. It's also designed for any calls our departments handle and can even be customized to your department's needs. If you're looking for an affordable tool to improve your fireground capabilities, visit iCommandBoard.com today. And also, Command Fire Apparatus. Need a reliable fire truck? Have a surplus fire truck to sell? At Command Fire Apparatus, they specialize in high-quality, used fire trucks ready for your department. They're not brokers. They buy, refurbish, and sell directly to you. From pumpers to ladder trucks, they have what you need, and they pride themselves on delivering a truck to you that is ready to go in service. Join the many satisfied departments that trust them for their fire apparatus needs and experience stress-free selling and buying today. Visit sellfiretrucks.com or call 866-238-6688. Your next fire truck is just a click away. Command Fire Apparatus is a firefighter-owned and managed company.
It's got some good stuff in stock, too.
Oh, yeah.
They just posted some other stuff I saw the other day.
You know what I just thought of? What do you guys think of taking photos on a fire ground, like after a house burns down, like in front of the firehouse?
Well,
We talked about that before.
Yeah, we did discuss that. You weren't here that week, but it's never good to take pictures at somebody's demise.
It's odd, right?
It is weird.
I don't mind if you go back to the rig and stuff like that, but I don't think you should be taking pictures in front of people's houses that burnt down.
Yeah, in front of the
that's
house.
not good.
Taking a picture.
One of my members did that recently, and he posted, and I'm like, you got to take that down.
Well, we talked about it because there was somebody that did that. I forget where, but they posted a pic. They were inside the house, took a picture inside, and they got jammed up for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just taking pictures to take pictures of what you had and stuff like that, that's all good for training. But to actually take a picture like smiling in somebody's demise is really never good. Definitely not good for public perception.
For sure. Speaking of which, let's get into Job of the Week. We got a submission up in German Flats, New York. House fire on Halloween night. They were able to rescue a dog, and they had some wind going up against them. And the response was from Mohawk, Herkimer, Frankfurt, Little Falls, East Herkimer, and Richfield Springs all responded.
It's right in the middle of the state.
Yeah, I was going to say I have no idea
Right in the middle of the state.
where that is.
Yeah.
There's a fire today in Westbury.
Yep. There's been a few around. I was at Center Reach's job the other night, second floor fire in the rear. They did a good job, knocked it down quick. So I'm walking back to my car, and one of the guys from Wisconsin's like, job of the week? Like that. And I'm like, oh, people are listening. But he goes, yeah, this one won't qualify. Like that. I was like, that's pretty interesting. But there's been a lot of garage fires and stuff around.
Yep.
It seems lately, just kicking up. Who knows why? Maybe boilers, batteries. I know there was an e-battery bike fire recently in somebody's garage. So just be cautious out there. And then today I posted that article about that accident with the bus upstate in New York. And, they found radioactive packaging in it, which we talked a little bit about when we had Mike Monaco here from the
Yep.
hazmat guys. But, like I said, radiation's on the road every single day. You never know when you're going to deal with it. And there it was, they had a couple packages in the car.
I didn't read the article, but what exactly was in there?
I didn't look up, it didn't say what it was. I mean, it did have a UN number on one of the packages. It also said empty on it, so I don't know if that one was. But I know in the article it said that he didn't know it was in the car or whatever, which is kind of crazy, but it's
Interesting.
interesting. But
That's like when you get the cars when you're doing an extrication drill, and you pop the trunk open.
Oh,
there's
there's so
all
much
sorts of
crap
shit
in
in
it.
the
Yeah, I
trunk.
get a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I always take the license plates off those cars.
we were at one, there was like all sorts of CDs in the trunk, and CDs were still kind of in, but they were on their way out,
What kind of CDs? Were they DVDs? Because I've
There were-
I've seen
There were
a
some,
trunk full of
there was some
porn.
DVDs, there was some porn.
I swear to God.
But there was a wide margin. There was some movies, but then there were a bunch of CDs of groups, like music, and some good ones too, like '80s music. And I'm like,
I find a lot of
Brian, know what a
tools.
CD is?
yeah, you know what a 45 is?
I find a lot of tools in those cars. I find like screwdrivers.
Screwdrivers,
and
tools, a lot of money.
hammers.
Usually, you flip the
The
car over
change.
and all the change comes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And they're just mad change all over the parking lots of those training facilities or in the back of your firehouse. Drill of the week. Kev, I think this would be a good time to once again plug the seminar. coming up
Joey D
this
seminar
weekend.
this week, so this will probably come out. When are we gonna put this out? Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Maybe tomorrow.
Joey D seminars this weekend. Yeah, we have like 490 something students signed up.
Damn, that's a lot.
Which is pretty cool.
That is a lot.
And what were you just saying? You do it at the Academy, Hagerman, and
Yeah, so this year, last year we used Hagerman as well. So Suffolk County Fire Academy, Hagerman Fire Department's training facility. They let us use it last year. I'm going to do it again this year. And then we're also going to be at Riverhead Fire Department's training facility out east. So
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah, yeah. And
so if you're doing a certain evolution, you just go straight to.
we're going to bust them out there.
Oh, you gonna bust them from the Academy? Oh, cool.
Where's the start? Like, where does everybody come to?
At the
Does it-
Fire Academy, Suffolk County Fire Academy.
Okay.
So everybody will sign in there, the registration, everything, and then they'll get shipped out to either Riverhead or Hagerman. That's all. There's 40 students at each of those locations, so there's 80 students that won't be on the Suffolk County grounds, and then everybody else will be at Suffolk County. So
How's the out-of-state attendance?
it's quite a bit.
It's good.
Yeah, we actually have a few people coming down from Canada again, which
Ooh.
is very interesting. I think there's 30 from New England area, up in Rhode Island, Massachusetts. So
Guys like to train.
yeah, we have people all over. I don't think the Hawaiian guys are coming this year. They usually come.
You guys from Hawaii that came
Yeah.
out? That's crazy.
I'm telling you, when I was at
10
FDIC
guys from Hawaii come.
doing live fire training, guys say Joey D's like a mini FDIC.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So we have this year. There's 29 different programs that I have set up,
Jeez.
and they're not all happening. Some of them are just one day or another day, or split up morning or just an afternoon. The ones that are off the grounds, those are full 8-hour sessions. So those are 8 hours. Once they go out there, they'll be there all day. And then we have one 8-hour program at Suffolk County Fire Academy with John Cagno and Tony Tricarico. They're running that. So it's more about saving yourself. That's what that program is.
Are you doing a classroom
others.
social media in the fire service class?
No.
They did that at
Are you
charging 10 grand for it.
What are some of the stations that you guys are doing?
Well, we have the usual residential, commercial. We're doing a new program this year. We used to do a high-rise class. We're doing, it's called Fires in High and Wide Buildings, because high-rise buildings and very wide buildings or big buildings, some of similarities are in there. So that's a new program this year. We're doing a program called Going Up and Out. David Quick, he's doing that with Bill Alito from Safe Fleet, Elkhart Brass, and Mercedes Hose are sponsoring.
I know Bill.
Yep, nice guy, Northport.
Yep.
The high and wide building is being done by Battalion Chief Anthony Cello. He's in New York City, Battalion Chief in the 9th Battalion, right in the middle of the high-rise area. And he is a guy from Ford Truck helping him with that. What else we got? We got technical rescue. rope, trench, confined space. We have P.O. Vulcan doing man and machine, man versus machine. We have a new program this year, First Do Car versus Building, which is being done by Flash Fire. They also do a fire behavior class. We're doing a roof and OV class. What else? Paratech's running, along with strategic safety, they're running a heavy lifting class. It's going to be like a underride, lifting a bus and stuff like that. What else we got? We got a lot of stuff going on.
That sounds awesome.
Flash
though.
over basement fires. We have First Do Response Tactics. That's out at in Riverhead. So Mo Davis from Houston, along with some guys from Detroit, Houston, and we've got a few guys out there doing that. On-scene training is going to be in Hageman doing commercial fire operations with Aaron Heller, who was on the
Aaron,
show.
yeah.
What else? We got, there's so many classes, I can't even remember. Oh, lithium-ion batteries. Randy Diossi from my department, he's a fire investigator. He's doing lithium-ion batteries. He's actually going to do classroom, then go outside and burn them.
Wow.
Actually, he's going to overcharge them and have them light on fire. So we've done that before. That's a really good class.
That's the best. That's the best class.
The best class?
Yeah.
It's not the best class. Oh, the best.
best.
BE. Battery energy storage system. HOPOG, yeah. What else? East Coast Rescue Solutions. They're doing forcible entry. So they'll be doing forcible entry in there. And there's just
You guys
a lot
are-
of
yeah, pretty much
All
everything
Hands is
covered.
running tactical decisions before a last resort bailout. So they're going to be doing some different operations there, situational awareness. They're also helping run a tower rescue class. Climb a radio
Remember you
tower.
talking about that, yeah.
Yep, how to remove victims off a tower. RPM, which is Mike O'Hare from Houston, he's doing the tech rescue stuff, confined space, rope rescue, and trench. So a lot of different programs.
Doing any thermal imaging?
Oh, thermal imaging, Andy Dinkel's doing that with Havlicek. They're doing thermal imaging. What else?
I will say, after
Like I said,
doing,
a lot of classes.
after doing, I think people, may or may not opt into thermal imaging over live fire, just because live fire is more fun, obviously. But after doing thermal imaging at FDIC, I just went to Nassau last week, 2 weeks ago, and
Made a difference.
it made a difference subconsciously. Like I just knew better,
Right.
and it's not something you
You
really
think
think about it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they're
That's the
great
training.
programs. I mean, even the program Flash Fire runs, they do fire behavior, and they talk about how fire advances and behaves. Then they go out to the actual flashover simulator, but they don't burn it like a real flashover simulator. They do it as fire behavior, fire growth, using the camera, what to look for, how to use it. So even though it's not a thermal imaging class, it's on fire behavior. They're doing both.
Right.
Which
Are
is
they
really neat.
they doing that at the academy or
Yep.
Hagerman?
That's at the academy. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm excited to.
No, it's a great
check it out.
weekend. I mean, if you've never attended, I would suggest you do come. It's good for the foundation in memory of Joe DiBernardo. We raise money and give out grants for bailout systems and training, ropes, harnesses, the whole 9 yards. So we're giving out 13 grants again this year, and that'll be almost $1.6 million since we started
Jeez.
in systems. So we've given out well over 1,000, I think 1,500, 1,600 systems at this point now, which is pretty incredible.
So with that, how do you determine where those go to? Do you have departments that reach out to you,
Yep.
or
So you submit a grant online. We have it on our website. There's a grant filing period. I think it's January to August or September. I forget what it is exactly. I'd have to look it up. And then we go through, we ask for a lot of information, like your financials. We look at the poverty level of your community, stuff like that. And then we rate them. We put them into a rating system, and then we kind of choose from there how much money we have, how much money we can give out. Obviously, the more money we have, the more grants we can give out. So,
Do you give monetary grants, or you're giving equipment?
no, we give monetary.
Oh, it's
we write a
monetary.
check.
Oh,
But
okay.
we don't write it to them directly. We write it to the training company.
Okay.
So, because we didn't want communities or even departments or even, political branches to get a check. Like, we've had some say, oh, just send us the check. What are they going to do with it? Put it into the general operating fund,
Yeah, whatever they
They're going
want.
to jap the firefighters.
Yeah.
So, they choose the company they want. They send us a quote, and stuff like that, the type of system they want. We review all of that, and then the check will go directly to that training company. But they choose. We don't choose the training company. So,
that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
How you doing on apparatus? You got a ton of trucks going out there?
We got a lot of departments have volunteered. Some, they reach out to us because they want to come. Because not only is it good for, your department to come out, but your members can get some training along if you bring the rig out. We're not going to charge you because we're getting to use your apparatus. So
Oh, that's new.
what's
I
that?
brought a truck there years ago, and we just stood around for hours.
Well, when I saw you that couple of years ago, I said, hey, why don't you guys grab your gear and go do something? And the guys were like, nah, we're good. Was that you guys, or was that, there was a department I went over, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, I don't
stand
think it
around,
was
go
us.
do something.
I don't think it was us, no.
Yeah.
But I remember,
I mean, we need a chauffeur to stay with the rig.
yeah.
To do it.
I only was there with 2 guys, so maybe,
Oh, okay.
But I remember at the tower, is that Affordable Drill Towers out at Yaphank?
Yep,
That's
Affordable
his
Drill
tower?
Yep.
Jeremy from National Fire Radio was there, and I met him there. I think this was before he's a lot bigger now. And I took him up on our ladder, and he was doing like a video thing.
Nice.
And I was like, oh shit! And like I think back now, I'm like, oh fuck, that was him. So that's cool.
Yeah, they usually come. Him and Rob will walk around, take some video and pictures. And I don't know what day. Sometimes they only come for a couple hours. It depends.
You sent us that video of him in the group chat the other day. I sent that to my whole department. I was like, everyone should watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good information out there. You got to share it. You got to share as much information as you can. The foundation does well. I mean, if you're ever thinking of making a donation, especially as we get towards the end of the year, people looking for financial breaks and stuff, think about the Joey D Foundation. Go to joeydfoundation.org. Look us up. You can click on donate a little bit of money to us. The money goes directly back to firefighters in need. So it really is a great cause. And all of us just volunteer our time. Nobody takes any money. All the instructors volunteer their time. All our board members volunteer their time. All our staff volunteers their time. Nobody's taking any money out of this. Just operating costs to run the seminar, operating costs to run the foundation. That's it. So we're probably up there in the top of how much money is given out.
I was just
We
going to
take it
say,
in
you're,
and we throw it right back out.
you're an actual nonprofit organization
We are a
that
true nonprofit.
takes the money and puts it where it's supposed to go.
You guys
We don't pay a social
go
media
unexpensive?
person. Ryan, maybe in the future we'll hire you. But, we've been doing everything on our own. And, sometimes, we're not on top of our game 100% with getting social media posts out or getting back to people right away. Maybe eventually we'll have to start paying people. I don't know. But as we keep growing, we just give money out. And we're just trying to help firefighters, have them never go through the same situation Joey D. and the other firefighters did when they had to jump out of that building. We want to provide bailout systems and training, situational awareness, keep them safe. And then our seminars, we don't charge a lot for our seminars because we're not paying anybody. So it's low-cost training that volunteer departments, paid departments, members can come on their own and pay for because it's reasonable. Yeah. So
And it's New York training.
And it's
So-
New York
Yeah.
training. We got a lot of city guys come
Yeah.
out, do training. The fire academy instructors are top notch.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are city guys at Suffolk County Fire Academy, but these guys are all top notch. Any of the training companies that we have come in, they're all top notch. We vet them all. This isn't a free for all of who comes out. We select people for specific reasons. So if you get a chance, come on out and see us. We got another one in Texas coming up. I think it's 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of February. We'll be in Texas, right outside of Houston, the Woodlands.
And how many years has it been going?
The foundation?
Yeah, like the seminar.
Our first seminar was in 2013, but we just did lectures. We did like a couple of years of lectures, and then we went into started 1 day of hands-on, now 2 days of hands-on.
Gotcha.
So it's been going on a while.
And then the Texas one just started last year, right?
No, I think we're 3 years. I think this is our 4th year in Texas.
Oh, okay. I thought you only did it.
No.
And you said what? 29 classes.
Yeah,
29
29
total?
different programs.
And how many of the 29 are hands-on?
They're all hands-on.
Oh fuck yeah! So you don't do any lectures anymore?
We do lectures on Sundays. We have 4 lectures on Sunday at the Bosse's building in Holtzville.
Okay.
So
That's
this
good,
year
all
it's
hands-on.
All FDNY guys.
No,
moving
that's
this
awesome.
year.
Yeah, really turned it
Hands
into.
on, where it's fucking at. Like, in my opinion, I can't stand lectures. I fucking don't even want to be there.
Well, it's good information too, and it depends on what you're looking to, learn. Sometimes the lecture can be very beneficial.
Actually, you know what? I take that back.
But-
I did do a lecture for Nassau County, and it was informative.
Yeah.
But
I mean, some of our hands-on classes do start with classroom. and then they go outside.
Yeah,
We got a
sometimes there's a
pumping
need for
class.
that.
Some instructors from Nassau County are coming out. They're also city guys, but they're doing a full pumping class.
Do you guys have any extrication?
Not this year, no.
No.
Hard to get cars.
Hard to get cars. You gotta buy them. You gotta pay for them, right? Or you gotta pay for like delivery and pickup. Yeah.
She'll let me know.
So
I can
Next
get
year.
something for you.
might bring it back. Every couple of years, I bring it back, the extrication. I always try to put some new programs in and switch it up every year, because this way, if you went to, many years of the training, you want to try something different. So every year, I try to 2 or 3 new programs, pop some out, pop some in.
What's new this year?
Going up and out, the high and wide buildings, car into building is new, thermal imaging is new. I think there's 5 new classes.
Cool.
Oh, and the first 2 response tactics out in Riverhead, that's new.
Yeah, I didn't know that Riverhead had a place either, a
Yeah.
training
It's
facility.
out
Yeah.
in farmland, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
that's
That's fun though.
Yeah.
I've been to Hagerman.
Hagerman's got a great facility.
They have a great facility, yeah.
I've been to West Islip. They have a small.
It's very
facility.
similar.
Yeah.
Riverhead and Hagerman's buildings are almost identical.
Mancuski, obviously, I've been to.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of the topics that were
A lot of topics.
submitted to us. So I put most of the ones from Facebook on here. I know there was a bunch on Instagram, so we'll get to those probably next week because there was a lot. The first one here is taking leave for mental burnout. So this was somebody who commented that their department recently has responded to calls with fatalities of younger people within the community, and they just had an unexpected loss of their chief, and they're trying to kind of figure out how to take some of the load off the members that are having a rough time, because going through trauma like that and then losing the leader of your department definitely can feel like a punch to the gut.
Where is this at? Do they have a location?
I'm not sure where it is, but definitely,
It's trying times.
yeah,
There's no
definitely.
doubt. Absolutely.
I mean, I would say there's probably multiple examples of it. I mean, Kevin, you probably have the best example of it with, your experience from 9/11, losing so many people and then so many people I mean, from my experience, I remember James Shellock when he lost his life in a motorcycle accident, and our department responded to it, and that was kind of a blow. But we did have a lot of support from the surrounding departments from us during funeral details or anything that we were doing to, put him to rest. A lot of departments around stepped up so that our members can give him a, proper farewell and not have to take the brunt of all the calls that were still coming in. So I think that would be my first thing I would say is, if your surrounding departments haven't already reached out to you, maybe reach out to them and see if, if you're running EMS, maybe see if they can staff an ambulance for you. If it's fire related, see if they can, do some duty crews down at your firehouse with their fire apparatus, maybe set up some duty crews to give some people a break and do it that way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount to it, and it does take a significant toll on yourselves and members when you have these types of incidents, whether it's responding to or it's your own members, hurt, injured, killed. It definitely takes a toll, and we do still have a responsibility to our community to provide fire protection and EMS services. So, anytime something like this happens, it's very important to contact the CIS teams, the critical incident stress
They did
teams.
mention they contacted them.
Get them to come in, talk to the members, even your members' families. Don't leave the families out, because when you go home, now you're alone with your wife, your family, and everything else, and it's a big deal. So these teams are important. It's important to have phone numbers for them to call people when in need. And sometimes just being around your brothers and sisters is a big help, just to talk. You got to talk this stuff out. So, in the paid service, sitting around the table, the kitchen table, and talking about issues sometimes lightens that load a little bit. But when you hold it all in, eventually it's going to spill over. That bucket's going to fill up, and something's going to go wrong. And that's when people get testy. That's when people start fighting. That's when you start making mistakes and people get hurt. If you're in an adjoining department and knows about these types of situations, whether it's losing a chief member or even responding to these types of events, reach out to them. What can I do for you? Or just go over there with a rig and say, hey, we're here for you. What do you need? But make sure you reach out to your surrounding departments. We're here for each other. This is a brotherhood, sisterhood. We need to work together, and we need to take care of each other as best we can. So that's one way of doing it. Sometimes they're going to say, hey, we don't want your help. We're gonna keep on going, and it's a difficult time. But I think it's very important to talk. Very important to have an outlet. Very important to have people reach out to you, and even when you're home, if a person goes home and they just disappear, but knowing and letting the family members know within your organization that we're here for each other, because now you go home, you get in a fight with your wife or your husband or your kids, and it's a very good, difficult time.
To your point, you were talking about sitting around like the firehouse kitchen and talking with other members about what happened. That was one of the first lessons that I learned when I first joined. When I went to my first fatal car accident, I was still a probie. I was 17. So for somebody my age to experience something like that and not have anybody in my family that was a first responder, it was a little odd. It was like, okay, we pull up to this accident. Like, that person was alive like 5 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Now they're dead. And I remember going back to the firehouse. The chief came back there, and I wasn't like, shocked. I was just, I take that back. I was shocked.
You just didn't realize it.
It was when I was going back to the firehouse in the rig, I was very quiet. And usually I'm, talking a mile a minute, and the guys noticed it on the rig with me. And the chief came and just basically said to me, talk about it. Like, tell me every detail. You have to get that out. And it obviously made me better, throughout the rest of my career, seeing more incidents like that. And then I even was able to, at work one time, there was a lady that went into cardiac arrest at the office right next to all the people she was working with. They were in like the tech area, like they were like customer service people, and all these people who just, they work with this person every day, and this person just drops dead, and they had to watch EMS come in, do chest compressions, the whole 9 yards. Unfortunately, the person didn't make it. And I happened to be out, and my boss had called, and he was like, are you anywhere like near the office right now? Like, can you come here and, talk to these people? And I just sat in the conference room, and all those people that witnessed the whole thing, I brought them in there, and I said, if anybody wants to talk, like, don't hold this in. Make sure you talk about it and get it. Like, it literally is like a physical release of getting it out there. And I just sat in for the rest of the day, sat in that conference room, and, a few people would walked in, and I would just say to them, tell me everything that you saw.
It's so interesting that, like, the psychology of that. And I would never downplay how anyone feels about anything, but, like, me personally, doing EMS and fire, seeing car accidents, bodies and fires, and EMS, like, cardiac arrest and such, it's actually it never had any effect on me.
Yeah, and
Well, like, you don't think it does, and don't get me wrong, sometimes it doesn't. And, coming up in this business, especially years ago, we used to say, yeah, you have to have tough skin. Mm-hmm. You got to have that tough persona. Like, it gets to the point where you don't even relate to it sometimes. Like, it's just like, and it's not that you don't care. You do care, and you do build it up inside you. But the reality is sometimes you just push it off. Like, you don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been to so many people that have died in front of while I was operating, during, or at the scene of. I've seen many, even pulling dead victims out, like I was talking about, ripping their skin off, like I've seen so much stuff. But it does build up over time, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not sleeping right, or something's wrong. Like, it starts to affect you and you don't think about it.
It's in your subconscious.
Yes. And then, like, when Joey D got hurt, when he jumped out the window, it was almost like my heart ripped out. Like, it just, like, and I've seen a lot. I've seen, I had another friend fall out of a rig, smacked his head on the curb. He was in a coma for 8 days. And even seeing him, I was like, holy cow, man, I can't believe this happened to a friend of mine. Like, it happens over and over. But, like, when Joey got hurt, it really affected me. It affected me a lot. Like, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to die in a fire. Like, it just really got to me. When he passed years later, it even hit me harder. Like, I got over all of that. It took me a while. And I was offline a little bit in the city at the rescue school, helping run the rescue school, which I think was a big help for me, being offline. But I got back up and I was ready to go. Boom, 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 boom. When he actually passed, it was just like, my heart definitely fell out. It was over. Like, my whole persona just changed. And, I remember my captain at the time, Captain Tony Tedeschi, and Tony was in Deer Park. He taught at the fire academy with me, and he just looked at me. He goes, "You're going to counseling," just like that. I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." He's like, "You're going to counseling." He goes, "There's no debate here." Like, and I'm like, I don't need this stuff. And we did counseling after 9/11. I did a little counseling after Joey got hurt. Like, but that time, like, I went. And the first time I went, I was just like, nah, like, this is nothing. But then the second time, like, it was a fireman. And we started talking. And the third time, like, and you start going. And I went to counseling for a couple weeks. And I tell you, it really was a good experience. At first I thought it was a shit experience. But as time went on, I realized how much it actually helped me. Like being offline and going to counseling helped me. But that really helped me, and I was always that tough guy. Like, nothing bothered me. Like, and you would see this over and over again, these car accidents, these fires, even in the valleys here, same thing. I told you about the incident when I first became an EMT, and my neighbor got launched out of a car and was paralyzed. Like, that affected me, but it didn't affect me that bad. Like, it just built up. So, I think counseling is very important, and I'm not saying, listen, not everybody's a weak person because they go to counseling. Not everybody's a weak person because they can't handle things. Like, everybody handles things differently. Everything affects people differently. And you have to be prepared to stand by your members. As an officer, you have to stand by your members. As a chief, you have to stand by your members. And you got to stand by their families, because it all comes together. But you got to release the stuff. You got to get it out. You got to talk about these incidents.
What was an odd experience I had? You may have been there. There was a fire. I think it might have been like a suicide, and like, you lit the house on fire, committed suicide, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We had this, like, I think it was a third party, like, counseling company coming after, and they like, came to the firehouse. Were you there in like the mini annex? I didn't see anything because I just, whatever, I might have been OV, like, whatever my job was. But then I felt like they were like drilling us that we should feel something.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was very
Sometimes
odd.
they do.
It was like, I was like, am I supposed to be depressed right now? Because, like, I'm all right.
I
Like,
remember
Very
going
weird.
after that, because I remember they were drilling
Yeah,
us.
right, it
like,
was
and I
odd.
remember saying, there's this one guy in the firehouse, Joe Saladino, that I always trust. He was just a very soft-spoken guy. I want to say he's a professor and maybe in psychology or some sort of.
He was a nurse.
Yeah, but like, I think
Did he
he
do
also
something
taught,
else?
and I just, anytime I felt something, I would always talk to him about it, because I really respected his opinion. And I remember, I think, calling him the next morning. I'm like, hey, like, yeah, we had a bad fire. Guy lit his house on fire, shot himself, and we found his burnt body in the fire room. And I remember when we went there and that team came there to talk to us, and I was like, am I supposed to, like, am I a bad person for not really, like, being affected by what we all just saw? And he was like, no, like, you don't have to
I
think
feel like
that
they
way.
want you to say yes, though.
Yeah, but basically they were like, don't go to the bar and drink the spoils down or whatever. And, they left and we all kind of just went over to the annex and had a beer. And
That was a
talked
weird
about it.
experience.
But what's interesting, what you were just saying, Kevin, is, somebody from your generation that's looked at you and was like, you're going to counseling. Because you don't hear that from your generation.
Well,
and
you don't want to force people, but
I know what
he
I'm
was
saying.
spot on. Like,
What I'm
I go,
saying
I'm coming
is-
back to work. No, you're not. You're going to counseling.
What I'm saying is, as of recently, and I'm talking like maybe within the last 5 years, you've been starting to see all this stuff on social media about particularly mental health in men. Because men typically, and you just said it before, you just have like this, this is what I'm supposed to deal with. I'm a firefighter. I'm going to see this shit. And I got to push it down. And I got it. And now you're
and in
starting to
some
see.
ways you do.
Yes.
There's two sides to everything, and there are times where things won't affect you. This, like kids, like young kids, like that, it's always tough. Like, you think about your own kids, it just depends on the situation. But there are times where you do just push it off. And
Yeah, what I'm saying,
this
though-
is part of the job to a certain extent. And I know people don't take this the wrong way, because people say, "Oh, it's part of the job." It's not part of it's part of the job that we do. We're going to deal with this stuff. How you recover from that is what makes the difference.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think what it is now is, there was always this stigma that, oh, you're going to therapy, what, you can't take it, blah blah. And men typically are the ones that they might not be feeling all that great inside, but they're trying to put on the show that everything's fine. And there's nothing wrong with, like even you just said, going to therapy and trying it out. And maybe it doesn't work out the first time, but give it another shot and make sure
Well,
you're getting those feelings out.
I will say this. Listen, therapy is not for everybody. And
There's
I
that
know
too.
people that have been to therapy and they're like, you got to go to therapy. You need therapy, blah, blah, blah. Stop. Don't tell people they need therapy.
Right.
It's not for everybody. But there are times you do need it. At least have that outlet. At least have that phone number that you can make the call. And after 9/11, and obviously this is a big metropolitan paid department, it was very hard time for all of us because nobody knew what was going to happen next. We were decimated and everything else. And even our counseling services is probably one of the best around. I got to say, they've built up so much since 9/11. Like, it's insane of how good our counseling services are. But they had people come in from all over the place. And some of them came in and they gave this hardball, like, you got to talk. And then others, they would just throw a bunch of cards on the table and they'd say, how's it going, guys? And just sit there with you and just let you talk. And they're like, all right, cards on the table if you need us. And they just walk out. And I always respected them even more because they weren't pushing you, they weren't talking to you. And after a couple times, like, the same people would come back and you get to see their faces. And then we just have conversations, like, talking about a fire or what happened or this and that. And then eventually, like, they'd be like, all right, see you guys later. Here's our cards, throw them on the table again, and they'd walk out. And then it would be like one or two guys would follow them out and say, hey, can I give you a call on Tuesday? And slowly.
It's like selling. It's like selling. Like
Yeah.
they planted a seed and then
That's basically what they did, is they planted the seed there and gave you the option. You didn't have to, but they gave you the option. And then slowly they started earning the trust of the members. And then it just kind of perpetuated from there.
Especially
where
doing it in a
people were
group
calling
setting.
him on the outside, or they said, here's my personal number if you ever want to talk, And, even, when Joey got hurt and stuff, I had guys that knew me, reached out to me that were part of counseling. And they're like, hey, bro, if you ever want to talk, just give me a call.
Right.
I'm like, I'm good today, whatever. And then, like, one day I said, I'm going to go to counseling. You want me to drive you? We'll just shoot the shit on the way there. I'm like, all right, whatever, Like, and it's nothing about, you don't have to push people too hard. You give them an outlet, you give them a reason, you give them that trust factor, they're going to reach out to you. But like I said, just be there for your members, give them that chance, and like I said, don't push everybody. It's not for everybody.
Right.
can't push anybody to do anything. Like
Yeah.
it makes it uninviting.
My phone is blowing up with all Joey's D stuff. I told you, I can't stop. It's
Tell them
just-
you're not going.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Cancels.
I'm actually, I'm getting a cold. I'm like, sniffly,
It's
and my
almost
chest
time.
hurts.
Almost time for you to start bringing your halls.
Yeah, well, I'm going to need the hole soon. But yeah, it's amazing. It's
It's
Joey
been
D
windy
week,
and-
and I got a
windy and
million
chilly.
things
Yeah,
to
it's
do.
true.
It's been windy and chilly too. So you
Yeah,
might,
it's not a good week for this.
Next submission is somebody wants us to cover how to earn respect from fellow firefighters when becoming an officer. So
listen.
It's always an interesting
that's a
one.
big one.
Do more listening.
Yeah, more listening, and there should already be some sort of respect there, and not saying that like you have to earn respect, but if you're in the position to run for officer, yeah, it's in essence you're like, okay, I'm good enough to be an officer. Like there's that part of you that's in there that throws your hat in the ring. I'm going to run for officer. And there might be some people out there that have thought about it, but just didn't feel comfortable throwing their hat in the ring. But yeah, I like what you said, Phil. Listen.
Yeah, just listen.
And if you're new to it, or if you're younger, find a mentor. Talk to people who have been in your position before.
Well, especially going in as a second lieutenant when you really don't know anything about leadership or delegation or really management at all, especially in the volunteer service doing it at like 24 or 22 years old, depending on whatever age you do it. You really don't have any clue how you're doing. You're not really diplomatic in your decision making or your communication. Like all those things I learned as second lieutenant just sitting in meetings, honestly.
Well,
because you're not running the meetings, you're just sitting there.
Right, and I remember the reason I decided to run for second lieutenant was because there was a lot of like hanging out with the younger guys. We were all kind of had our ideas about the way the department was being run and all this stuff, and I had the qualifications to run for officer, and I figured I'm going to be a voice for the young guys. And when I got in, I remember like my first exec board meeting, my captain and first lieutenant were like, yeah, you're just going to sit there and not even say anything.
Yep,
Like
that
it was
was-
like almost like being a probie again.
My first exec board, they said, this meeting is for captains and chiefs, and lieutenants are welcome to be here.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, but
And that changed. It doesn't happen anymore.
I think I've said it before, but one of the first things I did, particularly because my captain and first lieutenant, something happened to both of them, and they both had to take leave, so I was kind of running the company by myself. And first thing I did for anything like administrative is I went to some senior guys that I trusted that have been in the position and basically asked them for their opinions on stuff, and that built trust from them. And also just trying to get the younger guys a little bit more involved with everything that we were doing. And, going when we were on scene for calls, same deal. Senior guy that was, driving the rig, or if they were part of the crew, I would always have them stand next to me and be that extra pair of eyes.
Something you don't expect, too, is when you're, I guess, a younger guy becoming a lieutenant, and you're a young guy, all your friends are the young guys, and then your friends are doing things that go against what an officer says
Yeah.
or any type of requirement, and then you have to go to your friend, or your friend is just making you look bad, and you're like, yo, I'm not trying to be like this guy, but
Yeah.
you're making me look bad.
Well, you don't have to that's the big thing is I would say never pull rank. Especially when you
yeah.
have that's your core group of guys. You guys are down at the firehouse fucking around, pulling pranks and stuff like that. Well, now you just put your hat in the ring to be put in a position where you can't be doing most of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And you should have, if these people are truly your friends, you should have the respect from them that they respect the position you just took.
Yeah.
And
that was always the case.
yeah,
mostly
for the
case.
most. I mean, I had one incident. One of my buddies, we were going to a call and waiting for an assignment from the chief, and he was like, "Let me out. I'll find something for us to do."
Mm-hmm.
And I just turned around to him like, "Would you shut the fuck up?" I was so mad at him. But afterwards, I grabbed him like, "Dude," I'm like, why do you got to do that shit? And he was like, my bad, blah, blah, blah. But
the best thing when you got like young lieutenants or even young captains, whatever, and even young chiefs, when everyone's just fucking gung-ho for no reason.
Yeah,
Like just being fucking balls to the wall just cause say a chief becomes 32 and like new chief, he's probably excited to be a chief. And he just like he says we got to do this, and it's like, let's fucking go,
Yeah,
chief!
yeah.
We're fucking doing
yeah,
it.
that's a best case scenario for sure.
And it's like a funny thing, like because if there's like a more senior chief who's kind of like maybe been doing it for a couple of years, and it's like oh, you're listening to him, and he's like, I have rank on him.
Yeah, if you can get the guys with you, to stand behind you and want to do the same stuff you do, that just makes it all the more better. How old were you when you became a lieutenant?
Young. I was very young.
Young years old.
Yeah, I don't remember what year. When was that? I know it was in the city, 92, 93. Probably had like a couple of years in the department. Not much. I was secretary first and then moved to second lieutenant. So, that was kind of the progression back then. You went to secretary, then you went to second lieutenant.
Oh, really?
Oh,
It was
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of the thing, the way the company worked. We always switch people around.
Were you ever in
So-
another department or just
No,
where you're at?
just to talk it, yeah. But I've worked for a lot of different departments over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always hard because especially in the volunteer service and smaller departments, paid. Usually you're promoted, and you're going to stay in the same firehouse for the most part. In larger departments, they move you. They don't want you. So sometimes people don't know who you are. You come from a different area. Or for me, like a different borough in New York City, you get sent somewhere else. I actually stayed in the same borough, but they
You
don't
didn't
know
go to a
who you
different
are.
borough?
No.
Because isn't like in the city, like if you come from a different borough, it's almost like coming from a completely different fucking state.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
But they want to do that. They want to move you around so you get more experience. And,
So you spent your whole career in Queens?
no, I worked in the Bronx.
Oh, didn't you? Oh,
I did 10 years in the Bronx.
I misheard.
I started in the South Bronx and then went to squad in the east side. And I stayed in 7th Division in the Bronx.
So when you were an officer, you stayed in the same borough, right? Same firehouse?
Not same firehouse, no.
So what was when you were to show up for a tour and you're the officer and these guys don't know who you are, what was something you did that broke the ice?
I always talked to the senior guys if I could, but it was different in every firehouse. Everything was different, depending on where you were working, what you were doing. Some guys knew who you were, some people didn't. It's just depends on what you look at, I mean, like whether you're going to drill, what the day's like, is it a day tour, a night tour? Like there's so many factors that go into it. And where you're working in that particular area. Like, is it hilly? Is it, high rises? Is it small rise? Is it private dwellings? Like, the city is so vast. It's just different.
Right.
But,
just
you
had
always
such a-
tried to talk to the members. You always tried to drill. You always tried to find out their years of experience. You always tried, when you go out the door, talk about things, buildings or size up or whatever,
I just had such an interesting thought, like being a career fireman, like bouncing around, like having like a new lieutenant come in or a new captain come in, like that's actually your boss. Like as a firefighter, like that's actually your boss. Where like in the firehouse here, it's like he's my boss when we get on a truck. Like,
Right.
so it's like such
for the
a
whole tour.
Yeah.
You're there for the whole tour.
Yeah, like you
and
actually
and it's
report
different,
to them.
like even when I worked in Queens, I mean, there was, we had another company in with us for a little while, and guy was newly promoted, and he came over to me, and he's like, he goes, hi, I'm such and such, and I said, oh, nice to meet you, and blah, 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 and he just said, he goes, I just want to let you know I never worked in Queens before. I go, where'd you spend your career? He's like, in Manhattan, lower Manhattan. And I'm like, so you've never been to a private dwelling fire? He goes,
You've never seen fire
I go,
before.
well, it's going to be interesting. I said, if you want to talk, come over to the office, we'll talk. I said, just, I'll give you a heads up where we go, what's going on, But, it was good of him to go out
Oh,
and ask
100%,
another
yeah.
officer, and I would try to do the same thing when I went to different places. I would always try to talk to, especially if there's two companies in there. But, in the volunteer system, it's so different because, you probably know all these people. They elected you because you're popular or they like what you do. So, now it's a little different. Like, hopefully you've already proven yourself. You've been to fires with them. When you go to another borough and like they're looking at this guy, oh, who's this guy? Like This guy's never been.
That's
to
what I'm
fire
saying. Like,
before.
it's actually like,
You know?
and that's your livelihood too. It's not the volunteer firehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went places and, guys are like, who's this guy? Whatever. And then you have a good job and they're like, wow, he's pretty good,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
prove yourself by going to fires. We don't always have that in the volunteer fire service. So, as you come up through ranks and stuff, especially as a new officer, right? Always, and I talked about this in one of the previous, we talked about respecting senior members and talking to senior members. And like, you got to build that respect and that trust of those senior members and look at them as, get their opinion on things sometimes. And I'm not saying it's like, this isn't, we all vote and decide what we're going to do. The officer has to make a decision. You got to live with that decision, right or wrong.
Yeah.
But be able to justify your existence. I always looked at myself as I have to justify what my people do all the time as an officer. Whatever it is, I got to justify it. That's the way it works. So, but if you're a good leader, you give good direction. Not that you have to tell everybody what to do. Train your members well so that they can operate on their own. And that's one good thing about the volunteer service is sometimes we switch around rigs. You're on the engine, you're on the truck, you're on the rescue, so you get a good feel. Or there's no officer, and sometimes you're the senior member sitting in that front seat, so you get a little. But you got to understand, sitting in that front seat isn't just about blowing air horns, talking on the radio, and hitting the siren. That's not what it's about. You're responsible for everybody on that rig. And on a bigger scale, everybody in your company on the social end. So you always have to be looking at everybody and work as a team to make a better culture for that company. So that's the way you got to look at it as being an officer. And you're right. There are times where you're going to have to make a decision your friends don't like, or your friends are going to do things stupid that you're going to have to tell them, like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And even as a chief officer, I suspended my friends. There were times where we got into arguments, and I said, right now I have to be the chief, and you're wrong. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And it's not saying that, I'm pulling rank or anything like that. It's just what you're doing is wrong. We can't have this. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
What did this start on? What was the starting topic? Like, how did we start this conversation?
As an officer.
This was-
newly
Oh, as a new officer.
Yeah. And this kind of it ties into the next thing is mentoring firefighters to become officers.
Well, and while you're on that, lead by example.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to show up. I'm not saying you have to be the most active person. If you can take classes like officer classes or get more experience by taking training programs before you become an officer, it's a lot better. And you should continually take more classes and officer and leadership classes as you go through ranks. I look back at programs that I took later on and I said, wow, I wish I knew that when I first became a lieutenant or first became a captain. So, and I'm not saying it's wrong, you can learn as you go, but it's always good to start taking programs beforehand, and this way it gives you that heads up. When you get into mentoring, that's a whole nother avenue.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, you got to have a deep bench. You should train everybody to take your position. If you are an officer, you should be preparing people as you go, but show them the ropes. Show them what it's like to be an officer, what that responsibility is like. Show them how to be a leader, and even when you're doing training sometimes, take them with you. Hey, come with me. Let me show you what I look at. Look, these are the things, and I've said this where, when you're a firefighter, you're worried about yourself. When you're a lieutenant or captain, you're worried about your crew or your team. When you become a chief, you're looking at the big...
Just put that clip out
Oh,
today.
did we?
Yeah.
So, you're looking at that bigger picture. So, as you move through those ranks, you got to be looking at things differently. And we should all kind of look at the big picture, but it's not going to happen.
I would say with the mentoring thing, there's a few things to look at. And the first is there's some guys that come into the department, younger guys, that they just have it in them. Where you look at them and they're usually the quiet guys.
There's some natural born leaders. There's
yeah,
no doubt.
but they're the guys that they learn very quickly, and they're always down to do whatever, and they can hang out afterwards and bullshit with the guys. That's a guy you want to start saying, hey,
It's a good
continue to-
personality.
Yeah,
just
like it's
a good personality.
it's a good
that they-
because they like to learn, they like to drill, but they can also build camaraderie with the guys. The other part of it is looking at members who have never been in the position before, but have all the qualifications and have a good sense about them, the guys that have been around for a little bit, and then talking to them, not just going up to them and being like, oh, you're going to be the next officer up. Because there's plenty of people, like I've experienced, people are like, no, I'm not going to do that. But you sit down and talk with them and talk to them about what's going on in your company, why you think they would be a good officer, and start working with them there. And then, like you said, Kevin, put them into those trainings where you say, hey, this is what I look at, and give them the opportunity to start thinking like an officer.
Correct.
And the more you train, and this doesn't have to go for just these particular types of people, train everyone like that. So that maybe somebody, and you've mentioned this before, Kevin, where sometimes it just clicks with people, where they might not be like the ideal candidate, but when they are given the opportunity to make decisions, all of a sudden it clicks with them, and they do the right thing.
It's also about knowing your people, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
come from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different personalities, and a lot of different business and, things on the outside of here. Like, you might be a leader in some other shape or form, whether you were in the military, understand military, or a paramilitary organization like the fire service, or, even if you weren't a leader, but you saw how other leaders did things. Even in the business world, right? Whether you're a project manager, construction companies, stuff like that, you know how to run jobs or businesses, right?
Maybe you're just
There's
compassionate.
What's that?
Some people just connect with people.
Correct.
well.
Some people just connect with people, right? If you're in human resources and stuff like that, you know how to deal with people. So I say it a lot, we're in the people business. And if you know how to deal with people, you understand your people, what they are, what their background is, what they come from, that may assist you in finding your officers for the future. So, you got to know your people. You got to know what they do on the outside and stuff like that. And they can grow. It's the fire service, not for everybody. Leadership is not for everybody. But sometimes people can be molded into great leaders. If you treat everybody right, you build them up, you mentor them right, you show them the way, they can follow that way and be a good, successful leader. You should also, as a firefighter, look at all officers in your department, other departments, even watching videos and training programs and everything else, and see what they do. I used to always look at the officers and say, yeah, this is good and bad. You can learn from both, but you take the qualities of that better part of that leader and you try to mold that to be yourself. And I'll tell you, I made a lot of mistakes. I have a career of making mistakes. Even in the volunteer fire service, I have a career of making mistakes. But I always tried to learn from them. Mm-hmm. Every single time I tried to learn from them, and I realized, you have to have that deep bench. You have to have people to be able to take your position. You should be training all your people to be your next leader.
Yeah. I think
And on the
last.
flip side of all that, there's the people who suck at it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, we know those people are out there. We know there are cancers in the fire service. We know there is toxic leadership out there. It's out there. And I've seen it firsthand in both professionally and the volunteer system. And when you have a bad, toxic leader, it brings down everybody.
It's like the perfect
You
opposite.
might have a core group of people, but the rest of them don't want anything to do with that place.
It's like the polar opposite of what you just said. Like there's like the quiet guys who end up just they get into it, they progress, and they just end up being good leaders. And then there's the people who just want to be leaders from the start and are just miserable at it.
Yep.
And then it turns your department into that that saying where the people at the bottom, when they look up, all they see is assholes, and the guy at the top looks down, all he sees is shit.
I mean, listen, there were people that were against a lot of things that I did,
I've actually never heard
But, I always looked at leadership is, right? A leader has a vision of what your department can be or how it can grow to be better. Everybody thinks they're the best. But let me tell you something. You're not the best, and you can be better. You can always be better. Every fire ground you go to, every response you go to, you can get better at. You're making mistakes, and sometimes you don't even realize it. Everybody makes mistakes. But your department has to be able to grow and evolve. I'm going to say it.
Wow,
You
Kev,
got
that's
to be
only
able
one
to
today.
evolve. But you have to be able to grow. You have to look at doing things and making changes. Like, I changed a lot of policy. I changed a lot of procedures. And, people are like, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I changed the quota. And people are like, this is stupid. We're going to lose so many. No, you got to try things. If you never try, you're never going to know if it works. So, like I said, I like to just try things and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't work, you scrap it, you go back to the old way. But you got to try things. You got to have a vision what the future can be. You got to have a vision of providing the best quality fire and EMS services to your community. And if you're not just saying, oh, we're going to be status quo, or you know what, it just works, or we're going to do the best we can, all right, that's a bad attitude. You want to be a manager? Managers keep status quo. They just keep things running. Leaders have visions, they have foresight, and they want to evolve and change and advance as the times go. That's what you need to do if you're going to be a leader.
Yeah, that's very well put. I guess last topic we'll hit here. There was another comment on Facebook. Somebody was talking about merging fire departments. They are
Yep.
part of an organization. It seems like there was a couple of fire stations that are merging into one, and apparently it's the community that is concerned about the preservation of their history and the names of those departments. So
That's an interesting angle on it.
it is definitely interesting. And
And it happens.
yeah, and I believe there was somebody had commented, like a reply to that comment, which was immediately what I was thinking of is even around here on Long Island, you'll see departments out there where each station, instead of saying just station 2 or whatever, it'll say something along the lines of,
I mean, like XYZ Fire Company.
yeah, like Mohawk Engine or something along those lines.
It's a company. That's
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you could still preserve the history of your
Absolutely.
department and your company when you merge. And chances are the fire departments are merging because there's been issues with response or whatever it may be. But
There's
probably
usually a lot of reasons.
More operational than,
yeah,
or maybe even financial.
yeah. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure he wrote that in the comments that there was a whole
Well,
bunch
it
of
could be
different
good
issues.
and bad on both angles.
Yeah, but
Whether they're paid,
From-
volunteer, combination.
from
doesn't
what I
matter.
understand, I believe they're still operating out of the same firehouses. Like there's not any consolidation of firehouses. Just the
overall
actual,
management.
yeah. So I mean, maybe you could do something like that where, like you said, down here there's Mohawk Engine or Vigilant Hose Company. Do something like that. If your department is whatever
Listen,
XYZ.
change is hard, right? We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Two things firefighters hate is, right? Change and the way things are. But you got to evolve sometimes. If it's for the benefit of the community, the taxpayers, that's the way you have to go. And there's, you see it all over, whether it's Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Jersey, right? This happens all over. Personally, I think there should be a lot of consolidation on Long Island. I think we,
Well, I was just thinking that. Suffolk
the-
County Fire Department.
and people can slap me and beat me, but, I think we need to evolve. I think we need to change and get better. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. Because, you look at us now, banging out 5, 6 departments now, if there's report of fire, smoke, and everything else, because people aren't turning out. We don't have enough people, or whatever the situation is. And then we're running different types of apparatus. We're running different types of SOPs. We're running different types of radios and radio frequencies. Somebody's going to get hurt, unfortunately, and hopefully not tragically. But, with the amount of money and everything else, there's some good reason sometimes to consolidate it and make it better.
There's also the opposite. I just saw one recently. There was, I want to say it was upstate maybe, or I don't know what state it was in, but brand new fire company, volunteer. And I'm trying to think if we talked about this before, but who is the newest department on Long Island? I want to say it's Nesquag maybe?
Newest? I feel like Nisquag's got some
Terryville
history.
started in the 50s, I think.
Yeah, I think
I
Nesquag
mean,
was in the 60s.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like I feel like a lot of it goes by area too.
There's a lot of reasons, and even when you look at these district lines on Long Island, a lot of
District
them.
lines are shot.
They are.
My
They're
department
crazy.
started in 1909. There wasn't much out here.
Yeah.
And they started the fire department Stony Brook started their department the same year in 1909. Port Jeff was around even longer because it was a shipbuilding community. But anyway, when you look at these lines, they were by people's property and farmlands, farmlands. And, you know, like I said, we had a fire one day, and I'm like, oh, that's ours. And then Port Jeff got banged out for it. And we went mutual aid. And I was like, that side of the street is ours. You know, I'm chief. I know most of this district. I used to be a chief. You know, I know most of this district. The house to the right was Setauket district. The house to the left was Port Jeff's district. And it was the house to the left. Because the line went right between the two pieces of property on the street. So, you know, it's changed over the years, obviously, the dynamics. You know, we're more of an urban department than a suburban department now, with the population on Long Island, everything else. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. There are departments that need a lot of help, and there's departments that don't. Some are still doing very well.
I'm curious.
So
I'm curious to know, because we had the split with Central Islip Fire Department, Computer Associates. They had the building, and we had the parking lot. That's where the line
Smith
cut.
Haven Mall.
But now they just knocked it down. They're rebuilding it. I think it's going to become like a
But it's the same. We still have the parking lot, and they still
Yeah.
have the building.
yeah.
look at
It's
Smith Haven Mall. I mean, it's like split in
that's
the middle.
another one. Yeah.
Right? Wisconsin has one side, Center Reach has another. and,
Someone's got a super weird. I mean, granted, all the district lines are weird, but there's one in particular, and I can't remember where it is, where there's just like fucking 10 fire departments. Just they all meet at this one point, and it's a toss up of who's getting
Well,
activated
now,
for what.
the Heatherwood Golf Course in Setauket. The line goes right through the middle of the golf course.
So what, you guys have like the fucking back
so
nine?
the entrance was on our side, so we always had all the calls at the golf course, right? Well, now they built a community in there. There's condos and stuff. So we have like 3 buildings, and Terryville has the rest, but they got to come in our district to get to them.
You guys should block them out.
I mean, there's another entrance on the other side. I don't know if it's open yet. Eventually, they're going to open it. But it's like, why?
That's when one street has like one side of the road is one and the other is another.
We have
It's
that all
stupid.
over the place.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, so, you know, when we look at this stuff and, you know, we're getting back on merging and stuff like that, there's a lot of benefit and good, and there's also bad. And, you know, Aaron Heller talked about Hamilton and how they, you know, joined a bunch of departments and they promised them all this stuff, and then it didn't happen. It's not.
was that him or was
Yeah, it was
that
Aaron.
Glenn?
No, it was Aaron. But, you know, this does happen. It does go on. You can still preserve the history of your companies and departments, right? Make sure that you have pictures. Make sure you have stuff on the wall. Create a museum. You know, have the old timers come in. I think having an old timers night or an alumni night is very important in the fire service. Have the older guys
don't
come
need
back,
that.
even if they're not in
It's
the
every
department.
morning at 10 a.m.
Well, but
them
even
Lettermans.
people that left your department, like invite them back once a year for a party or something. Like we used to do it, and we got away from it, you know. And I want my company to go back to it.
My company did that.
Usually our January meeting was like alumni night. You come back even if you weren't in the department.
Well, you
send
know
out
what keeps, like,
invitations.
at least in Hop Hog, the benevolent keeps a lot of people. The
Yeah.
benevolent
Yes.
meetings, because
Right.
you're in the benevolent forever.
Correct.
So.
I know
So-
the Christmas dinners with my company, they would always invite the guys that weren't there anymore, but like the members that were there forever but had
Right.
moved wherever. They always invite them back for the Christmas dinners or golf outings.
Yeah, but talk to these people. You know, if you can record them. You know, we did some recordings years ago on some of our older senior members, and just telling us stories, just sitting at the table telling us stories about fires. Oh, we had a brush fire that started here and it ended up in Riverhead. You know, like back in the day. But you know, these people, like I said, they built your department over time. You know, they made it what it is today for you to be a member. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. I'll still say we need everybody's help. You know, we still need people to turn out and do what we have to do. But you got to be able to get your history of your department and keep it in your companies. But there's a lot of ways to do that. But overall, I think merging in a lot of ways is very good. You can still do your preserving of your history and maybe operate safer.
All right, well, I think that's 41.
41.
That's, yeah, we went by quick.
Yeah.